right, let's see if this works. Yes, we are live. All right, let me just check over here. If you hop on, say hello. And I am using StreamYard, so it does ask for permission if you guys hop on. Hello, and I am using Oops, there I am. All right, we're working. So if you accept, I forget what it says when you're using StreamYard, if you accept whatever it says up there so that if you post in the comments, I can see your name. Otherwise, it will not show your name. So, all right, we'll get a couple people going. Let's just see if we can, I think I'm in all, let me just double check. It looks like we're good. We're in all the right places. So accept StreamYard permissions and say hello if you feel like saying hi, so we know that you can see us and hear us. That'd be good. I'm assuming that everything's working. You can see us and hear us. Let me just check one more place. If this looks like, yeah, okay, cool. All right. Okay, good. So somebody said hi, and it says Facebook user. So I don't know who that is. Again, if you see, it will, StreamYard says accept this, accept permissions to see your name. Otherwise, it just shows up as Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but hello, Facebook user. So, all right, cool. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today, my guest is Drew Tupper. And I'm really excited about this conversation for my community, my clients, my audience. Really excited to have Drew here. He is a parent and relationship coach. He focuses on helping his clients be self-regulated and focused so they can achieve their goals. And his coaching draws upon his background in education, parenting, leadership, spirituality, and his own personal growth. And he just finished writing a book called Parenting for a Peaceful Home, How to Overcome and Lead by a Loving Example. I just love that name and a cool cover to boot. So yeah, very excited to have you, Drew. Add anything to that I missed there?
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all, Tracy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I would add something. I was just thinking about that. The whole reason, why I try to be self-regulated and aware of myself is so that I can have the peaceful home. That's my top priority. So
yeah.
My kind of parenting, the way that I approach it might not fit for everybody, but just to be fair and let everybody know where I'm coming from is that this works if you want to have the peaceful home, and if that's your top priority. For me, it was and it is, because I want my home to be like a refuge, a fun, enjoyable, kind, supportive place. I really wanted that. I wanted it for myself and for my kids and for my partner. So that's the angle that I take when I approach parenting.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you? Peaceful parenting.
Yeah. Well, the easiest answer is just as it sounds. Like,
yeah.
What is peace? Well, it's the absence of anger and hostility, at least constant anger and hostility. We do allow for emotions, but the tone of the home, I would love that more often than not to be loving, kind, supportive, uplifting, positive. Again, it's not going to be like that all the time, but if we can work together to have it be a place that feels good for everybody, that's what I want. I want it to be peaceful. It doesn't have to be quiet. Doesn't have
Okay.
to. We don't have to
Difference,
be.
right?
Doesn't
Yeah.
that, we're a lively family,
Mm-hmm.
but we're supportive of each other, and we try and see each other for who we are, and love and support
Mm.
that.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that's really potent, because oftentimes in abusive homes, even if it's just emotional type abuse, a big thing is really not being seen, not being heard, not being validated.
Yeah,
um, yeah,
yeah, that's
even if
right.
parents are doing it unconsciously, it's extremely hurtful. um, when a child is just kind of dismissed for their own feelings and
Yeah.
emotions. Yeah.
So that's a good way to put it, right? Like, imagine feeling as a child, imagine feeling loved and accepted for who you are, safe in your environment.
Mm.
How good that would feel, and
Yeah.
that's the gift that I wanted to give to my kids.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
What a gift.
and funny thing is, I had to give that gift to myself
Ah,
first.
that's right. Yes, that is true. Okay. So that's a really good, yeah. So I teach that regulation, and you got to do that first in yourself. Um, because that's really what it comes down to, right? If I have control, or not even control, but if I'm regulated, if my emotions are regulated, I'm going to be better equipped to um, handle, life, really, stressors, right? And children are very triggering, very activating.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I think a lot of my life improves, and I'm able to meet it more skillfully when I am aware of myself and I'm cultivating that regulation. I have
Yeah.
I have the energy that I want to have more often. I'm able to have conversations and communicate the way that I want to. I'm able to take care of myself and my health, and,
Mm,
and be of service and helpful to others. So I think your
yeah.
point of being regulated, and how it helps improve not just your parenting but your life is really, really important. And I've experienced that truth. I've experienced
Yeah.
both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you get, did you have like a light bulb moment, or what was your turning point in saying, hey, wait a minute, that's something I got to do, something different, or, than maybe my parents did, or how I was raised, or what was that for you?
Yeah. There was a couple, like, I can be a little bit hard headed, or, it could take me a while to learn things, and that's okay. I
Mm-hmm.
have patience for myself now, but I would say there was several light bulb moments. I would say
Mm.
there were several moments where I looked into the reality of what I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and understood what that would lead me toward.
Yeah.
And I had a couple insightful moments where I saw a future that I didn't want.
Mm.
I saw um, a disconnected family. I saw
Mm-hmm.
children that were scared. I
Mm.
saw, children that didn't believe in themselves. I saw perhaps like a family that would get together at uh, on holidays, but really wouldn't feel like connected,
Yeah.
almost like we were going through the motions.
Okay.
I saw that future playing out if I didn't address the way that I was behaving.
Wow.
And I got lucky enough to really feel into that and to really sense what that would be like.
Yeah.
And so that was enough motivation for me, looking into that crystal ball, to address my behavior.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. So what what kind of changes, did you have to make? Because I mean, it's sometimes it's not easy. to make those changes.
No, it's not
Yeah.
easy. I mean, I think that parenting has to be one of the most difficult things in the world, first of all.
Yeah, it
It,
is. It really is.
it's so complex. There's a lot of different moving parts, and not to
Yeah.
mention so much conditioning of
Mm,
where we have come from.
right.
So if you talk about behavior change, I have to believe that parenting has got to be not only the most important thing to change your behavior for the better, but also probably
Mm,
one of the most difficult things in difficult places to change your behavior. So,
yeah.
so what was the question?
Yeah, so some of the things that you started with, especially
All right.
when if we didn't get a blueprint of, I mean, we don't really get a blueprint. And if we know, like, okay, we know our parents made some mistakes, we don't want to do that. We know what we don't want to do, but we
Right.
don't have a blueprint for what maybe, feels like what's right.
Yeah.
What do we do, right?
Yeah. So what do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to do that. So what am I
Yeah.
going to? So what am I
What do we
going to
do
do?
instead? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I did. Actually, I reflected on my own childhood, and I, embodied the little child within me, and I looked to see what felt good and what wasn't helpful and what was hurtful,
Yeah.
and I tried to take what was useful and then leave what wasn't, and I also tried to introduce else what other things I thought would be supportive and helpful. So I did use my own experience as a yardstick or a metric, and so I did look
Hmm.
into my own history and ask those questions. What did
Yeah.
I appreciate? What do I not want to do again? And then I suppose at the beginning, um, one of the things that just kept on coming back to me is that I want a place where my kids feel respected,
Hmm.
where they feel like they matter, where they feel like they are people with rights,
Mm.
because it is so easy to see a child as something
Mm.
other than an individual.
Absolutely.
It is
Yeah.
so easy to do that. I think
Yeah.
there's like some really unconscious behaviors in parenting, some things we would do in parenting that we would never do anywhere else.
That's so true.
So
Yeah.
that's what I that's what I brought to the table. Was I started treating them as much as I could in every
Hmm.
aspect. I looked at all the different places where I could do this, like people. So if I
Mm.
wouldn't treat a neighbor's child like this, if I wouldn't even treat a friend like this, then I'm not going to treat my child like this. So that meant I had to draw a line in the sand. That
Mm.
meant no more manhandling or being aggressive with my kids.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
And I made it clear with everyone. It's not. I said this is not okay.
Yeah.
You don't deserve this. Um, Things are going to change. I haven't been the parent that I wanted to be. I am now changing. I made it very clear because um, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Being open and honest and
Hmm.
truthful about what I had been doing and where we're going was really important to me. And
Yeah.
so, no more manhandling. I drew a line in the sand. I can't do it at work. I can't do it if I'm an employee at a school. So I'm not going to do it here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to yell at and talk down and
Mm.
demean or diminish my kids. They don't deserve
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that with my partner.
Right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
I, those are the places right away. Like the low hanging fruit was, um, how am I treating these people as less than?
Mm.
And I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop that.
Yeah. So that's really hard for a lot of people because the activation from kids, again, if we're dysregulated and we have our own trauma, what happens a lot of times is people will yell at their kids and they don't mean to, but they can't. It's something that they can't stop, right? And then they feel really bad and they feel really guilty, and they might apologize, and but that cycle kind of continues.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest things, and I see that people really struggle with that.
It continued for me too. Even though I declared what I wanted to do,
Hmm.
um, and I apologized, I still made
Yeah,
mistakes.
yeah,
Um, that's behavior change for you. It takes some time.
hmm,
Um, and I can honestly tell you that I can really feel compassionate for those parents and empathetic, because one of the most frustrating things in the world is to realize that you want to do something differently, and
yeah,
then you know the impact of acting in a different way, but you keep on doing it.
yeah,
Like, it is so hard, and especially when you involve kids in the mix. I mean,
yeah.
it's one thing if I was hurting myself, but to know that I could be hurting my kids,
Mm.
that was hard for me. So imagine the amount of self-compassion I had to cultivate within inside of
Mm.
me to deal with that, you know, the judgment, the self-recrimination.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a big part of my process, was
Mm.
just allowing myself to slowly improve and to just be a little bit better the next day, maybe make a mistake, get back on track. Kids are really
Yeah.
activating.
Yeah. Yeah. They really that will yeah, even for the most regulated person, who's done a lot of regulation work, it can still be activating. Um, so yeah, so another thing that really depending on kids' ages, they allowing them to have their express themselves, right? Maybe they're angry about something, and perhaps
Mhm.
that's something that we couldn't do if we lived in a home where maybe only dad could get angry, or maybe mom too, or whatever the case was, right? But feelings, anger, that's like taboo.
Right.
um, or even if you're sad, hey, wipe those tears. If we got messages like that, um, can you talk a little bit about allowing children to have their emotions and feelings? Like, yeah, they can be mad and upset about, you know
Hmm.
or maybe we're setting it's like, hey, you can't watch TV, right? Whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And they can be upset about that, or their sibling took their toy.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of families, even up to now, are emotionally enmeshed with each other in the family. There's not clear boundaries between people.
That's right.
There's not good emotional boundaries between people. And
Mm-hmm.
so one person gets upset, that means the rest of the family is going to get upset, because nobody else has the tools of regulating themselves in the face of somebody else's upset.
That's right.
In fact, actually, it's used as a tactic by parents to get kids to do things. Not only is it
Yeah.
um, inadvertent, sometimes it's used in a way to, like, I mean, I remember hearing this sometimes, where it was like, oh, don't make mommy sad.
That's right.
You're
Yeah.
gonna make daddy sad, or if you do that, or
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
I'm getting angry. You don't want to get me
Mm.
angry. And
Mm.
it's, well, what we're doing there is we're emotionally leveraging our children. We're
Emotionally
actually
leveraging.
inducing a certain emotion in them, not helping them regulate, and we are taking advantage of an activated state so that a child complies in order to gain safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's
um,
exactly right. They comply. That's right.
yeah, comply and everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's what
Because
most of us learned, right?
compliance is like the number one sought after value for a lot of parents. We equate that If I have compliance, then I'm a good parent. So I like to rebrand that.
Oh, yes, please do.
Yeah, no. I want my kids to do the right things for the right reasons, not because an authority told them to do so. There's lots of different authorities in the world that can tell you to do something,
Yeah.
and I want my kids to be able to discern what's right for them. So I don't think compliance actually is a number one value of my parenting or parenting in general.
Yeah.
So if I can see it like that, it helps me be able to appreciate when my child says no to me.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. And most of us were never given the opportunity to say no or even have a voice or speak up for ourselves. That would just not be safe. That would be met with possibly, extreme punishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if, as a parent, now you can understand that allowing a no from your
Mhm.
child is giving them the chance to practice their autonomy
Yeah.
with you so that
Yeah.
when they get older, when they're a teenager, they will be able to say no because they will have practiced it and it will have been accepted
Mhm.
at home. So that's
There
actually,
you
we're doing our
go.
kids a favor.
Yes. So I would say 99% of my clients and community are people pleasers because it feels like death, even as an adult, even with a safe person, to say no.
So what a gift to allow our kids to look straight into
Wow.
our face and to
Yeah.
say no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And then do you
so
get curious or, because, right, you get curious as to
yeah,
why they feel the way they do or why they're expressing. Can you talk a little bit about
yeah. I
that might
think
look like?
I think no is okay if I can
Yeah.
if I can understand that this is an individual similar to my partner, then
Hmm.
a no that comes back to me is fine. And that so it becomes like the beginning of the conversation rather than the end. I think parents
Mm.
can feel threatened when they feel that a child has more power than them and the child
Yeah.
saying no, this is the end of the conversation. I think parents
Mm. Mm.
can feel threatened.
Yeah.
And
That's
as the
right.
leaders and as the guides for our children, we have times on our side. We don't need to sweat. We can let that conversation, the no, be the beginning of the conversation. Oh yeah, okay. So you tell me more. You don't feel like doing that right
Yeah.
now. What's up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I understand now. Can I help you? Would you like some help?
Mm.
Okay, so how about this? Oh, you don't feel like doing that right now? Okay, yeah, we can wait 5 minutes. That's okay.
Hmm.
I would give the same uh, allowance to my partner.
Yeah.
Imagine me saying to my partner, "Excuse me, clean this kitchen now,
Right.
now."
Yeah. That's
Uh,
going to be a no.
yeah, and or if I say to my partner, "Dishes need to be done. Get on it," and she's like, no, not like that. No,
Yeah.
sorry." And I say, "Excuse me." You
That's
know,
right.
you
Yeah.
know, I find a lot of my parenting improves when I consider my kids as people and I approach them as such. And sometimes I use
Mm.
analogies to my partner, to friends or colleagues. And my son is yelling in the background.
Okay.
Um, so if I feel like I'm out of tools and I don't know what to do, which is
Mhm.
that happens. If my
Sure. Yeah.
at the beginning, my kid would say no to me and I would be stuck. I'd be like a deer in the headlights going,
Mm.
I know I'm not going to be aggressive.
Right.
I know I'm not going to shame. I know I'm not going to
Yeah.
emotionally leverage. What do I do?
Mm.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And then I think to myself, okay, I've made a request. Someone has said no to me. Okay, how would I deal with this if it was an employee, if it was a friend. And all of a sudden, I think I know more than I thought that I did. And I've got these
Yeah.
resources.
Resources. Yeah. Wow. That's really, yeah, that's such a different take on things. Because I know another thing that people really struggle with is like, hey, clean your room, pick up, do your homework, pick up your toys. Again, depending on the age range of kids,
Yeah.
but and then make your bed. You got to do all these things before school, and the kids really, and then they're like, nobody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then there's this friction, and it just keeps building, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they try, okay, you can't watch TV then until you clean, and there's just this battle, and
Yeah.
it just turns into a battle, and they can't seem to find any yeah, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Can you give some pointers on how you manage, do this, yeah, clean, do all this stuff, and then the
Right.
kids don't do it, right? And it's a
Well,
battle.
it's, again, if we use my analogy of like looking towards other places, well, how do successful teams do this? How
Yeah.
do successful leaders do this? How do they get people on board?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are good leaders and there's lousy leaders, and maybe you could add something to this too. But for me, I know the qualities of a person who I would like to be cooperative with, and I know the qualities of someone who would turn me off.
Yeah.
And so
Cooperative. Yeah.
I get curious about that. There's people that I would go the extra mile for,
Mm-hmm.
and there's people I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so we got to ask ourselves, if our kids are resisting us in our requests and our guidance, what's going on? What's up? Take a moment to get curious. Am I approaching this person in a way that I would like to be led, in a way that I would like to be engaged with?
Okay. Yeah.
And oftentimes the answer is no.
That's right.
So how can I switch this up? I'll give you an example, a quick example. There was a father whose son was playing outside, and it was bedtime. The dad was yelling from the kitchen, time for bed, get inside, come on, get inside now, stop stalling, get in. And he's like, well, my kid didn't listen to me. How do I make him listen to me? And I said, okay, well, put yourself in those shoes, but like, let's make it work, and let's make it, you're the employee, and you have a manager asking you to do something, and he yells from across the office, Carl, I need that report. Get over here right now. I need that report right now. Carl, get over here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, stop what you're doing. No, I don't care that you're working on that important thing.
Right.
That doesn't matter. Get over here. And he's yelling across the whole room.
Yeah.
He didn't bother to connect with him. He didn't bother to, get close and have a warm tone and make any eye contact. Didn't get curious about what's going on in his life.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times the way that we approach our kids can be adjusted so that it's far more likely that they'll cooperate with us.
Yeah.
There are times that are difficult, and you're not going to get cooperation.
Yeah.
Even if you try some of these things that I'm suggesting, which are like connect before you direct, make eye contact, change your tone of voice to non-parental, more respectful. Don't yell across the room. We might inadvertently train our children to only respond to us once we get to a certain decibel level. So now we have to yell.
Okay.
So even sometimes, even if we do all these things, there's going to be times when there's something happening for the child that even if you lead well, they're still
Sure.
not going to want to be cooperative.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when I look to, okay, well, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
when do I feel non-cooperative?
Mm.
When I'm feeling low, when I'm feeling disconnected,
Yeah.
when I don't understand the reason why I have to do something.
Mm.
Maybe I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so I allow for that to be the case with my kids.
Yeah. Wow. So allowing space for that.
Yeah, if someone's giving you resistance to something,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sign something's going on.
Absolutely.
If there's good connection between parent and child, the child's feeling good, and the request is reasonable,
Yeah.
99% of the time, it's all good.
Yeah.
So that begs the question, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is the connection there? Is the child feeling okay? Are they feeling autonomous? Like, what's going on? And if we can understand the child and help them understand what's happening for them,
Mm-hmm.
then we can work with that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of an example. Like, if I engage with my child and I ask him to do something and there's resistance, and I hold space for that, and I get curious. So it seems like you're not feeling like doing this right now. You don't want to. Something's going on for you, or can you let me know what's up? Now, sometimes he lets me in on his world. Sometimes,
Mm.
sometimes he lets me in
Sometimes.
on his world. I said, well,
Yeah.
I had something happen at school today.
Yeah.
I can hold space for that and be of service to him and help him connect with me and be heard. And then
Right.
there's a much higher chance that cooperation happens after that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So really making that time and space is something that we, you know, got to have some presence and regulation for ourselves because it requires slowing down.
Slowing way down.
Slowing way down. And I'm all about slowing way, way, way down. Yeah, because it's really the only way. And I know that's hard, especially for parents that, busy parents, you got, several kids, maybe you're a single parent, um, lots of different scenarios. And again, if we're stressed and we have that survival energy, um, it's very difficult to stay present and regulated for our kids.
It is. It's like a catch-22. It's what you need
Yeah,
to be an effective parent,
yeah,
but it's difficult to do, and it's difficult to do in the face of an elevated and activated child.
yeah,
So it's doubly important in parenting.
yeah,
You talked about allowing earlier. You asked me a question if I would speak about allowing the emotions of children,
yeah,
and that's a really big one. You know, that's at the core of them feeling heard and seen and valued.
Valued. Wow. Yeah.
And it's so important. And if we can give our kids the gift of that, then
Yes.
they can grow up understanding that they are okay the way that they are,
Mm.
that they're allowed to have feelings.
Yeah.
And so the way that I do that is very similar to a lot of other things that we're talking about, is that I focus on myself first and
Mm.
I make myself safe, knowing that it's a challenge for me to be in a room with someone who is activated. So I take care of me first. I consciously separate
Mm-hmm.
myself from the other person, and I say, that is them. They are having an experience.
Yeah.
I am going to pay attention to me, which is
Yeah.
kind of counterintuitive because it almost seems like, well, I'm not doing a good job as a parent if I'm focusing on me when my
Mhm.
child's having a hard time.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. And I used to think it was kind of unloving for me to like just think about myself and to regulate myself, but I was confused. Um, I think it's actually extremely loving to separate myself from my
Yeah.
child, and
Yes.
then from that place of separation and safety, they're totally free to be
Mm.
whoever they want, and I can sit there with loving eyes,
Yeah.
an open posture, and communicate through my body. You do what you need to do. Take as long as you want. I'm
Yeah.
here.
Mm.
And that's how I
Mm.
deal with my kids upset when I'm at my best.
Yeah.
I let it happen.
Yeah. Let it
And then
happen.
I let it happen, and then I help them through the process. I let them know that they can get activated,
Mm-hmm.
they can express themselves, and then they can come back down. It's a
Yeah.
thing that we all do.
Right. Yeah.
It's natural. It's normal.
Natural and normal. Wow. Yeah, that's right. And so the hard thing with that, I think, is when we feel activated, we want to not have that experience
Yeah,
and do whatever we can to make that feeling stop
that's right.
within our bodies and nervous systems, right? So, um, and that's where we might, run into difficulty. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and I teach my clients to track their own nervous systems rather than
Yeah.
focusing on what the other person is doing. If they can begin to track their body sensations and what they're feeling,
Hmm.
and taking pauses, right? We take pauses, and if that means letting someone know, hey, you know what, I don't have the capacity for this right now. I'm
Right.
gonna is it okay if we come back to this in 15, 20 minutes, when dealing with a partner? But I
Hmm.
suppose you could do something like that with children depending on their age.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, it would be kind of difficult to do it with a wee one, with a small one,
Yeah.
to get up and leave. They might not understand what you're doing or where you're going,
Right.
and that's why it can get really frustrating for some parents in those
Yeah.
early years, is because there's not
Yeah.
the ability
The
to.
cognitive, yeah, the cognitive ability isn't there.
So, I understand why people would want to take physical space. That's what I would want to do, especially when I wasn't good at taking that emotional space.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like give myself a helping hand and like leave the room and say, yeah, okay, I'll be back in a minute. I'm coming
Yeah.
back. I can spend some time with myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but yeah, that could be scary. My mom used to get in the car and drive away and not come back. That was terrifying.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's a different.
I think that you know, as long as we explain what we're doing and we build up to it,
Yeah,
like taking a 10-minute break from a 2-year-old might not make any sense,
yeah,
but you know telling a 2-year-old, that mommy is going to focus on herself and breathe for a bit, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
I think that's okay. And I think allowing a 2, 3, 4-year-old to have a tantrum, because that's how they're expressing themselves, because they don't have the cognitive ability to do that, is okay.
And you know what, too? You know what's interesting is that not only does it help the parent, it co-regulates the child.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's so
Yeah.
many benefits to this. It's so underappreciated, the power of personal self-regulation. It has so many multiplicative implications that are really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in a way, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
It's simple to understand.
That's right.
So
Not easy.
take a look at this. Like, I don't know if your community will be able to understand this over video, but maybe if I do something like this with my child, and I communicate with my eyes and my body, and I'm open, and I'm just focusing on myself, and I'm allowing for what's happening outside of me, I'm letting myself know that I'm safe and that I can handle this.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, okay, take some breaths. And I am there for my child to see. And I do something like this.
Isn't that great? Co-regulation right there. I feel it.
Yeah, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, that is really powerful. Let's take a let's take a peek at some of these questions here. Why is it so? Somebody's asking, why is it so difficult to make eye contact? Um, I would say, again, if you had parents that were angry, if your own parents were angry, right, or if eye contact was like, staring you down and, hey, don't do that, that terrifying type of home with eye contact, that either had some verbal consequences or even just a look of disapproval, is enough to cause a child trauma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
does the question mean, why is it difficult for me to give eye contact for my kid, or for my kid to have eye contact with me? What does the question mean?
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, that's a good point. So I'm not sure if they're saying if it's difficult for you to make eye contact with your children, or that your children might not make eye contact with you.
I can say why it would have been difficult for me to make eye contact with my child is because
Me to give eye contact to another. Yeah.
yeah, okay, so I can talk about that from my experience. So without having good awareness of what's going on inside of me and an ability to regulate that, if I look outside of me and I see something that is less than perfectly safe and calm, or what I perceive to be safe and calm, then that's going to have an impact on my nervous system.
That's right.
So, and to complicate things, a lot of people who went through trauma can be confused about what certain looks mean, or they could be scared of what certain looks can mean. So I could look at my child and misread something very easily. And I have done that before.
Yeah.
So sometimes when people get nervous, they smile. I do the same thing. So my son, has smiled at me before. And because of my history, I read into it in all these negative emotionally charged ways that added to my current activation of my nervous system, and that wasn't good. So in bringing my power back to me and my body, what I did was I reduced the impact of other people's energy and the way they looked. So then I could be, when I got good at it, I could then be in the same space with someone who I didn't understand what their look meant, because I was regulating myself, who even I thought that their look was threatening. So that's why I think it's going to be hard to look outside of you and see something else, because it could trigger something inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it takes the regulation, it takes it takes time and work, and it's not easy. Again, depending on trauma histories and backgrounds.
Yeah. I imagine this. It's a slow process, and it would look different for everybody. And if you are aware of yourself enough to be like working with Tracy, that puts you ahead of the curve of a lot of people who unfortunately aren't even aware. So in a way, we can count ourselves fortunate that we're aware of ourselves and that we need help. And the only thing that I would add to that is something I've already said on this call, which is allow yourself the time to do what you need to do.
Yeah. Somebody else, if you guys have questions, you want to put them in the comments, we'll start taking some questions. Somebody said, when I get activated, I often find that I need to go into a quiet room to calm down, but this seems to activate my children more when I go into the bathroom and close the door. Either they bang on the door, or they simply open the door if it's unlocked.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've been there.
Yeah.
Little ones are worried about connection and attachment and losing that connection. And so I worked my kids up to it. So this means I taught them delayed gratification or impulse control outside of the moments that I was triggered. So what this would look like is I would take space from them and I would scaffold their tolerance to me taking space.
Yeah.
So it's completely reasonable that a parent would want to take space. It's also completely reasonable that a child would be scared.
Yeah.
So we've got to work with it. And the best way that I've found to work with it is actually to work with it and to build up their understanding and their tolerance, so that in the difficult moments, I can get myself 5 minutes in my room.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, hopefully that answered the question. And that's exactly what I teach as well, is we build our tolerance and capacity when we're reasonably calm, not when we're activated.
Yeah. And then you do the same thing for your kids, right? Because let's say something I did to build my kids' impulse control, a simple example is, say mom and dad are talking and a child comes up and just starts talking and wanting everyone to pay attention to him or her. Yeah. That's normal and that's natural. But if I break the conversation with my partner every single time and I turn my attention immediately to my child, I'm not actually teaching any impulse control. I'm not actually teaching any kind of patience or building of capacity to be with oneself. So what I have done is, when they were young, I would come and pay attention to them. I say, hey, listen, hey, I see you. I'll be with you in 1 minute. I'm going to finish the conversation with mom, and then I'll pay attention to you. So I would take a minute, I'd finish the conversation, I'd turn toward my child and say, hey, listen, thanks for waiting. Can I help? Yeah. So they get to learn what it feels like to build that capacity for being okay with themselves, knowing that they're safe. And I do it in a way where I build up.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. Yeah. So important. Right.
It's so much better than either going, hey, listen, we're having a conversation. Can't you see?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
get out of here. Or, okay, what do you want? Okay. Oh, you want that right now? Oh, okay, I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's helpful.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Um, yeah, any other questions? Somebody said, I definitely got the evil eye look from my mother in public before she was going to yell at me behind doors. Yeah, and getting screamed out in the face. So it's hard to make eye contact with those people who did that. Um, yeah, you're going to feel uncomfortable inside. So that's, again, going back to safety comes from the body. And when we begin to cultivate some safety in the body, we build our capacity for those things that we didn't get, right? And that's why it is important to build your children's capacity, right, for that safety and stability to hold those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I mention something that was really, really helpful for me in becoming aware of myself and
Mhm.
regulating myself?
Yeah.
So this was a complete game changer for me. And if your clients want to use it, they can use it. It's in my book. It's also on my website. So without knowing it, I reached adulthood and I was more or less anxious in a state that was kind of a low grade trigger. I was
Mm.
I was activated,
Yeah.
sometimes very activated, sometimes a little bit, but I was generally activated, and I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. But
Right.
I became aware of it after a while, and so for me, my work was to down regulate,
Mhm.
basically as much as I could, um, so that I could regulate myself and uh, behave, think and behave in ways that I actually wanted to, instead of reactive, fearful ways.
Right.
So, one thing that I did to really help me understand just how activated I was and to reduce it was to
Mhm.
um, become aware of myself moment to moment. And I started doing this thing where I started tracking um, my emotions and the sensations in my body just to
Mhm.
really, really understand myself.
Yeah.
And that process alone, without even doing anything else, had me feeling more safe and secure in my own body.
Yeah.
But
Powerful stuff.
then I added to it um, some questions and some inquiries that really helped me. So let's say I checked in with my body in the morning and I
Mhm.
got up and lo and behold, I'm activated already at 7 in the morning. Well, what's going
Right.
on? Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that consciously had I not made it a conscious exercise.
Right.
So there I am at 7:30 in the morning, checking with my body, going, "Whoa, okay, I didn't know that was happening. I guess that's good to know that. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay." So then I found myself naturally asking myself some questions uh, as an extension of the tracking exercise, and I would ask myself questions like what's going on? What do you think's going on for you?
Yeah.
And then ask myself another question. Um, do you need anything right now?
Mm.
And I would also let myself know that that was okay. I'm like, okay, that's happening. You're activated. Maybe you're feeling angry right now.
Yeah.
We're not going to bring any judgment into there, but we can get curious and also helpful. So
Yeah.
I started holding space for myself.
Yeah.
And that was a
Beautiful.
really, really big game changer, because I didn't know that I could do that.
Yeah. Game changer. All right.
So
Yeah.
I started feeling a lot different. I was very surprised that I could do that for myself. I became aware just how activated I was and how often. And
Yeah.
so I did this exercise originally 3 times a day. Morning, I would check in with
Hmm.
myself and my body, noon and night.
Yeah.
And then it became aware, like, how activated I was. So then I just started doing it like as much as I could remember.
Yeah.
I ended up doing it like sometimes 5 or 10 times a day. Like, um,
Yeah. That's so great.
and I remember thinking, this feels like a lot. This feels like too much. I shouldn't have to do this.
Yeah.
And thinking to myself, well, who cares? Who cares how much this is? It is what it is.
Right. And you did that.
I did
Yeah.
it, and
And that's how you build capacity.
it became a natural part of me. After a while, I
Yeah.
didn't have to do the journaling and the logging.
Right.
It just became part of my
Yeah.
awareness. Like, I know now how I'm feeling.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I love that. Wow. And that's I just love hearing that because that's exactly what I do, is help clients build that capacity and become aware of their internal experience. And we absolutely have to do that first, is holding that space for ourselves. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to do it with our kids, with a partner,
That's the
whatever
secret.
else you're doing. Yeah, truly. Truly the secret.
And
Yeah.
because parenting is so much about being there for immature, developing
Yeah.
individuals with big emotions.
Yeah. That's
I
right.
mean, like, how much of parenting is holding space? Like, a lot of it is,
So true. Yeah. Yeah.
and originally it felt like I was doing nothing. I was like, Drew, what are you even doing here? Like, do
Mm,
something. You're the parent. Do something.
right. It's actually do less.
And eventually I realized just how powerful the doing nothing was. It was
Yeah.
absolutely transformational.
Yeah.
Um, Holding space for my kids, allowing them to have their experiences, resulted in a closer bond,
Hmm.
more cooperation.
More cooperation.
Can
Yeah.
you believe? Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Can you believe
Wow.
that me dialing back on the amount of, you should be doing this and that's not good, and
Mm,
and you know uh, authoritarianism, dialing back
right.
on that created more cooperation.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yeah. That's incredible. So good. So good. All right, we're about at an hour. Does anyone have any last questions? What's your website, Drew?
It's my name is
Drew Tupper.
drewtupper.com.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in here, but I'll add it um, to the other posts as well. And then your book again.
Yeah, this one.
Hold that up. Parenting, and that's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Peaceful Home. Okay, that looks great. Um,
Yeah.
Typing that in the comments for you guys. Yeah, wow, really, really great information today. Um, so yeah, Drew, I want to really thank you again for having this conversation. Really, really powerful, good stuff, and lots for people to think about for sure.
Well, thank
So
you.
people can find you on your website, your book on Amazon. If anybody needs, you help parents, right? This is what you do. You help the parents.
This is
Um,
it.
yeah. So if anybody needs help, please reach out to Drew. Um, Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. This is it. There's so much parenting out there, and I know my clients will tell me, "Well, I watched this, and this they said to do." No, it really comes down to this regulation.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, there's nuance to it, and there are
yeah.
certain ways to communicate with kids. There
The
is more
community,
to this,
right? There's more to it, but
but this is the biggest piece.
yeah, and this is how I work. Regulation first, and then, the nuances of communication. Because again, if you don't have the regulation, that communication
No,
isn't going to happen. Yeah.
everything else is dependent on this. If
Yeah.
you want to have like a mature, safe, loving, connected home.
Yeah. Be home. Yeah. And it really is. It's that, yeah, because there's you, your partner, your guys, your partnership, and then the kids as each individuals, yeah, and there's a lot of parts and pieces and people involved. So this is it. This is why I love Drew, because he gets this fundamental thing that's so important, and I love that. So yeah, thanks again, and yeah, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, all right. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.